What's going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 70 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast on this Monday, April 21st, 2025. I'm your host, Zach Malin. But before we get started, please subscribe below. Follow all of my social accounts. Let's start things off in the NBA as the New York Knicks are in action tonight. A 7:30 start in Game 2 of the Eastern Conference first round. 6-seeded Pistons, 3-seeded Knicks at MSG. Let's look back to Game 1 on Saturday, though, where the Knicks were victorious 123-112, and it all came down to a 21-0 run in the fourth quarter by the New York Knicks. They went into the fourth quarter down 8 points, and midway through that fourth quarter, it was all Knicks, and they finished the job with a monster run that really went on for almost 5 or 6 minutes or so, and they just completely took it to a Detroit Pistons team that's a bit inexperienced when it comes postseason time. That was the difference in my mind, and really is a series changer for the New York Knicks. All of a sudden, you lose Game 1, then you really got to pick yourself up, and I do think this is going to be a long series. I don't think it's going to go 5, maybe 4 games for the Knicks. I do think this series really goes 6 in the end, and the Knicks are going to really have a tough opponent in some of these games against Detroit. However, a run like that in Game 1 in front of the home crowd, it really gets them riled up heading into Game 2, and you got to give credit to guys coming off the bench during that run. Cam Payne being one of those guys, had 14 points on the night, and a bunch of them came during that run and in the fourth quarter. Then you look at another guy in Mitchell Robinson, who has been injured for most of the season, but moments like this, playoff basketball, you need your bigs to step up, especially with Karl Anthony Towns maybe needing a break here and there. Mitchell Robinson did the job, and a great performance by him as well. 6 points, 6 rebounds off the bench. So give credit where credit is due. The Knicks deserved this win in the end, and it all came down to that fourth quarter run. Obviously, if you're a Knicks fan, you're hoping that they really take it to Detroit a little bit earlier in the game and really not slack back. However, it is Game 1. You're starting to get used to the postseason. It's a different brand of basketball. And for this Knicks team, they just got to get used to it once again and get in their groove, and the groove that they've been in all season long, all regular season long. Now it gets to a different level, and you really got to rely on your guys, especially those guys in OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. You're seeing a different type of game from those two, and OG Anunoby really stepped up in this one. 23 points along with 7 rebounds, had 5 steals, so the defense really picks up for the Knicks. Cat himself had 4 steals in this one as well. So give credit to the Knicks, and they go into Game 2 with a 1-0 series lead as we head into tonight, a 7:30 start at the Garden, and the Knicks come into this game as 6.5-point favorites, total sitting at 221.5, and the Knicks really got to close things out here in my mind. When you look at the next couple of games after this in Detroit, I don't think it's going to be an easy road there, and the Knicks as a home team have been pretty strong this season, 27-14 on the year. It's just a different animal in the playoffs when you go on the road into a hostile and tough environment. It's going to be a tough one for the Knicks to go to Detroit, so they got to win their games at home and control things, and it would be huge for them to take a 2-0 series lead, really take command of this 7-game series. So we'll see what happens, but the Knicks really need to come out strong, and I'm expecting maybe some improvement from a guy like Mikal Bridges, who only had 8 points in Game 1. You're waiting for the moment that he comes around, and especially postseason time, you're going to need him next to those other 3 names, like I said, in Anunoby, Brunson, as well as Karl Anthony Towns. So we'll see what happens. Make sure you tune in tonight, and we'll recap this game and then the next one on Thursday's episode. This one should be a great one, though, tonight. 7:30 start at the Garden. Knicks and Pistons, Game 2 in NYC. Let's shift things to baseball, as both New York teams were in action this weekend. Let's start things off with the New York Mets, who are on an absolute roll right now in the National League, and they are 15-7 on the year, and that comes after a 4-game sweep over a National League opponent in the St. Louis Cardinals. at home. The Mets really control things, and they've been great so far this season at Citi Field. Let's look at these games, though. 4-1 on Thursday, then a 5-4 win and a close one that came down to the wire. And they win that one 5-4, like I said. Then you look at Saturday and a much calmer game in the end. They win that one 3-0 thanks to Kodai Senga. And then on Sunday, they close things out with a 7-4 victory with Jose Butto getting the win. But this one, I really feel like this series woke up the offense, and that was the difference for the New York Mets here. You're looking at guys now in Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, those three guys, especially at the top of the lineup. You're waiting for some more guys, Brandon Nimmo, Mark Vientos, who really, I feel like, stepped up in this series, had back-to-back games with a home run. That was the big storyline for the Mets. And a lot of these guys, Brett Baty, Luis Angel Acuna, were on nice streaks in the last 8 games or so, last 8 or 9 games. They've been very, very strong. And this one really was capped off, this series was, by great offense as well as some phenomenal pitching once again so far this season for the New York Mets. So when you look at the Mets right now, they are on an absolute roll. And I think that, yes, you look at the schedule and maybe people say, yeah, it's a bit cupcake and maybe the Mets need some tougher opponents. Well, they're going to get it pretty soon, and we'll see if this is actually the real deal here. But even so, I mean, even in any of these series, the one loss to Minnesota was a really, really bad one. The series loss in the end to the Twins. That one is the one blip on the Mets' resume so far this season. However, the rest of these games, they've had a couple of sweeps and some great offensive teams in Toronto as well as St. Louis. They've really shut them down, and that's been really surprising in my mind with how good the starting pitching has been. Not something that I was really looking at to start this season. However, yes, it's a 162-game season. Very early, and the Mets still have to face some real tough opponents. So this one should be interesting as we head into the next series against Philadelphia. And let's preview that. A series start tonight, and Tyler McGill is going to be on the mound coming off a rough outing last time out. But he's going to go up against Aaron Nola, who's gotten beat around so far this season for the Philadelphia Phillies. And the Phillies are 13-9 on the season. However, 4 starts for Aaron Nola, and all 4 have resulted in losses for the big-time pitcher for the Philadelphia Phillies. But it's Phillies and Mets 7-10 start tonight, and the Mets are 145 on the money line, minus 145. This one should be real interesting. Total sitting at 7.5. But I think the question here for the New York Mets is, how is this pitching staff going to hold up against a bit of a tough lineup in the Philadelphia Phillies? We know there's a couple guys really in 3-4-5 or 2-3-4 that are very, very tough batters to go up against. Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, even Nick Castellanos has had some big-time home runs, and especially against this New York Mets team. So we'll see what happens tonight, but this is a big series overall. Met fans, I think they're hoping to probably take 2 out of 3 against Philadelphia and really take a nice lead so far this season in the National League East. But really, it's so early that those numbers really don't matter right now. I think the Mets are just going to want to come out and play some good baseball on their home field in front of the home crowd. And having this home crowd behind them has been very helpful so far this season, and I think it's going to continue in this series against Philadelphia. So we'll see what happens, but make sure you tune in tonight, 7:10 start. It's McGill against Nola at Citi Field as the Mets take on their rival Philadelphia Phillies. Let's shift things to the Yankees, though, and they got a series win over the Tampa Bay Rays this past weekend. 3-1, they win the series, and just the one loss on Saturday in extra innings in a game that the Yankees definitely should have won, but obviously a blown lead and a blown save by Devin Williams. I don't think it was classified as a blown save. because the Yankees had a 4-run lead, but it just completely imploded there in the ninth inning, and that was the difference in the end. They come in for the 10th, and Gomez, it gives up a bomb to right field to walk it off for the Tampa Bay Rays. But overall, this series, I think the positive sign was the starting pitching. When you look at Friday's game with Carlos Rodon, he got his second win of the season. No earned runs allowed. And the big thing with Rodon was the mistake pitches that would just slide in there for him, and that would be the difference in the game. He'd have a great outing, except for a couple pitches. Every pitch was pretty good there for the New York Yankees and Carlos Rodon in that game. That was very encouraging to see. And then when you look at Thursday's game, when the Yankees thought it was going to be a bit of a tough one and Will Warren got beat around early on in that one, you got to give credit to a guy like Ryan Yarbrough, who went in and gave the Yankees some length. Went 2 2/3. Yes, he gave up 6 hits and 2 earned runs, but he really calmed things down, I feel like, for this Yankees team in those almost 3 innings, where it's set up then for the bullpen. Tim Hill, Ian Hamilton, and then Devin Williams in for the save. That's really strong signs for the Yankees. The starting pitching looking tremendous. And then you even look at Sunday's game, where Max Fried was absolutely flawless in that one. Brought a no-hitter into the 7th, or so to speak. We'll get to that in just a bit, but he looked tremendous in that game on Sunday afternoon, and I think the lineup is really speaking up as well, and playing well behind that starting pitching. So very positive signs right now for the New York Yankees, and they've had back-to-back series wins, the sweep over Kansas City earlier in the week, and then they win 3 out of 4 against Tampa Bay. So that's very good signs for this Yankees team right now. And I think the pitching staff really rolling in, and the starting pitching really pitching well is a great sign, especially when you got guys coming back from injury. Clark Schmidt already back. Luis Gil probably not going to be back anytime soon, but when he is, you're going to need that number 2 guy probably next to Max Fried, and there's going to be a fight. Could be 3 different options in Clark Schmidt, Carlos Rodon, or Luis Gil. If you get all 3 that are pitching well, that's really positive for the Yankees and a team that's trying to sneak in to the postseason in a tough American League East and a tough American League wild card. I do just want to touch on the Max Fried saga down in Tampa on Sunday afternoon, as Max Fried goes out for the bottom of the 8th inning, thinking he had thrown 7 hitless innings. However, that was not the case, as official scorer Bill Matthews changed a 6th inning error on first baseman Paul Goldschmidt to a hit for Rays center fielder Chandler Simpson. And Fried, as he's running out to the mound for the bottom of the 8th, sees on the board that 1 hit was allowed. However, my one problem on this is that we're changing it in the 8th inning. Let me be clear, I do believe it was clearly a hit. Simpson, one of the fastest runners in the game, he definitely would have made it. However, if you wait 2 innings, it really is an embarrassing look in my mind for Major League Baseball. You get all the hype up, you get all the crowd riled up, and Max Fried's got a no-no almost heading into the 9th inning. However, then you change it from 2 innings after that. Can we get it right away? Even if it's a couple batters after, just get it right then and there. Do not wait 2.5 innings to then change the call. It just is not a good look for Major League Baseball. Does it have to do with the minor league ballpark that they're playing in? They don't have the same type of camera angles and everything. Maybe that's the difference there. However, you got to get this right away. And once again, it was a hit, no doubt about it. But the fact that you have to wait 2 innings to really see that kind of call, and it has an impact on a no-hitter, it's just a bad look for the viewership of Major League Baseball. That's something that they got to clean up. And like I said, if it has something to do with the minor league ballpark, that's got to change very quickly, or else it's going to hurt Major League Baseball in the long run. That's all on Max Fried, as the Yankees now head into a 3-game set against the Cleveland Guardians up in Cleveland, Ohio. back to the cold weather they go. And starting tonight, a 6:10 start. It's going to be Clark Schmidt on the mound. 0-0 on the year, a 4.76 ERA. He's going up against Gavin Williams, who's 1-1 this season with a 4.58 ERA. Guardians 12-9 on the season, 5-1 at home in the AL Central, and the Yankees 14-8 after a couple of real strong wins, like I said, series wins over the Kansas City Royals as well as the Tampa Bay Rays. But this one should be an interesting series, and once again, a rematch of the ALCS from a season ago. And the Yankees obviously were victorious in that series. So they're looking to continue that tonight, and it should be interesting. And obviously with that ballpark in Cleveland, the Yankees know it well, and they've played well there in recent seasons. So I think they're going to really attack this Cleveland starting pitching staff, and we'll see what happens. But make sure you tune in 6:10 tonight as the Yankees take on the Guardians in Cleveland. But that will do it for episode 70 of the MudWatch Sports Podcast. Please subscribe below. I've been Zach Malamuth. Thanks for watching, and talk to you all on Thursday.